in true Mexican fashion. You know, we're not alone, so welcome everyone. My name is Contreras, and I am the president of LULAC 688, Council 688. I'm also an adjunct professor here at the University of Houston downtown. I teach in the MBA program. And I hate when people talk in acronyms because then you don't know them, and I don't know what it is. It's some sort of business or something. So I teach the international management class, and in there we talk about people's different cultures and things like attitudes towards time. And so when you hear people say Mexican time, it really is a true thing. Latin Americans, Middle Eastern cultures, we just have a hard time understanding. Oh, we have not a hard time, we have a different attitude towards time. And that's fine. Anyway, we're all happy that you're here. And it's an important event, and we're excited to do this. And we have a lot of people that made this possible today. So if you haven't already, if you'll please grab a program, that'll give you an idea of what to expect. It'll let you know the names, who we're recognizing today. We're giving out 6 scholarships today, so we're very, very excited. But before we get into all of that, I want to ask Francisco. He is the president of the University of Houston Downtown LULAC chapter president. He's going to give you some information, logistics information here.
Hello, welcome. My name is Francisco Delgado. I am the president of the LULAC Council here, Council number 22268. I'd like to welcome you to the university. I hope it wasn't raining that much when you came and found your way. A little bit about the council itself is we're a collegiate council. We have students here at the university, but also we have professors, staff that are members. So we like to get involved with the university, and we have contacts with the president, with the assistant vice president, and all of this and that. So before I'm welcoming you this, but did anybody park at the visitor parking lot and paid $8? And you're like, wow, that's a lot. I have parking validation tickets if you want to come pick it up afterwards, because so you won't pay again. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Francisco. So all of you are here because obviously you're passionate about education and you're excited, just like we are. We have 6 scholarships to give away. To give you an idea again of what to expect today, you'll have the blue programs, there are also some in white. But I want to give you a little bit about background and history of how we came here today. So it started in late 2013. Several Houston LULAC leaders collaborated to put on an event to commemorate the 50th anniversary of President John F. Kennedy's visit to Houston, if you'll remember that. He came here to Houston and visited in 1963 at the Rice Hotel, so the day before he went on to Dallas and got assassinated. But it was very, very important to us because it was the first time that a president came and met with Latino leaders. So LULAC was there, and we wanted to commemorate that date and remember it, so we held many LULAC members got together and we held an event that was in 2013. So a lot of that money raised at that event is why we're here today and how we can give back to young people. And then in 2014, early 2014, several members of the team, of the volunteers, that formed a nonprofit, and you'll see that name on the program, on websites here. We call it CHEETAH, and CHEETAH stands for the Coalition of Hispanics for Excellence in Technology and the Arts, and they were created to specifically help with the objective of raising funds for scholarships. So one of the scholarships here is, that we'll talk about today is to honor Leonel Castillo, which we have family members here present related to Mr. Castillo, so we're excited about that. We wanted to remember his achievements and contributions specifically to the Latino community, and we have one lady today getting a scholarship in his name. And then in 2014 and early 2015, CHEETAH, along with several LULAC councils, collaborated to plan, organize, and put on a very delicious festival called the Texas Taco Music Festival. And that, despite the inclement weather that happened there, we were still very successful, and we raised a couple of $1,000s, and that helped, again, with some of the money that we're using today to give out these scholarships. So that's a little bit about the history. Specifically, you know, we want to recognize and cannot thank enough Cheetah to helping as a major funding sponsor for this event. Texas Taco Music Festival. There are so many names of volunteers that gave their time and energy to help make that event and this event possible. Not enough time to recognize each of those individuals, but it's important to say thank you to those people. There were other financial sponsors, and you'll see them in your program, like Farmers Insurance, the City of Houston Arts Alliance, David Garcia's Farmers Agency, Arturo Ariste's law firm, Clear Channel, and then we had some latecomers, which I'll tell you about because we added a 6th scholarship, so we're very excited about that. But enough about the history and how this is made possible. Not that it's not important, it is. But I'm really excited in what we're going to share next, because we actually have 2 ladies that we gave scholarships to last year. And they're here, and they're both U of H students. No offense to the UHD, but I am an alumni of the University of Houston, as I know Tony and others are here, so go Cougs. We have Yaglin Escalante and Janet Izagari, and they're going to speak about how the scholarship that Council 688 gave them last year has helped them, and anything else that they're willing to share, just for a few minutes. Ladies, if you'll come up here, please.
Hello, my name is Janet Aguirre. I received the John Aleman Scholarship, and this is my...
Hi, my name is Yaglin Escalante, and I also received the scholarship.
I knew Jalen. She went to San Luis and I went to Davis, and we met each other.
We met in 2013.
Yes. And when we found out that we received the scholarship, we were like, oh my God, we knew each other. So what can I say first? I really want to thank John Aleman and the LULAC organization. That scholarship helped me a lot, because I remember I just got to UH and how financial aid works and all of that. It takes time. So I saw a lot of students struggling with their books, getting their books on time. So I saw a lot of students like panicking because they were not able to get their books on time. So they got behind in their classes. But thanks to the scholarship, I was able to keep up with my classes and I was able to buy my books on time. So I'm really thankful. I didn't know how that made a big difference.
Well, I have a similar story to share also, because, University of Houston, they really pulled through with the financial aid really late in the year. Like, they give you like a month later your money from the financial aid, and so you're left with that month without any money for the books. So then, if you buy your books until they give you the money, the whole year you're playing catch up to catch up with your chapters, and you have to do all the reading. If not, you're behind. It's just a real pain to like be in that situation. But the scholarship for me, it helped me a lot with my books, and also I had enough funding to dorm, but I didn't have enough funding to buy essentials like toilet paper and pillows. Like when I thought about dorming, I didn't think, oh, I need to buy these things. And then out of nowhere, I just realized I needed to buy it, and I had the funding, and I was able to dorm comfortably.
Well, we like to share a little bit about our experience at UH, our first year. My first year was like, I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm pretty sure Haley felt it. Yeah. I'm the first one to actually go like a big university compared to my brother and my sister. My sister was a LULAC listening class. So when I got there, I was lost. I didn't know where to go, where to find like help. But as I started to like come out of my little shell and I started to explore UH, it's a wonderful campus, and I'm really happy that I'm there. Right now, I'm under the health administration bachelor's, so that's the career I want to go. And one thing that I would like to tell the students, the future college students, is don't be afraid. Look for help. Like, don't be afraid, because once you're like in that situation where you have a problem and you don't know like where to go, just find somebody, join an organization, join something that is gonna help you throughout your college career. Yeah. So that's my little advice to you. Yeah.
Well, my advice to you guys would be also the same, join organizations, but try to join organizations that will help you grow as a student and as a leader. Right now, I'm a part of SCP, which is Scholar Enrichment Program. I started as a mentee. I started as a freshman, and basically what they do is they have students help you, mentor you not only in subjects but in college life. Like, be safe out there, because it's not, you're by yourself kind of. You don't have that much parental involvement in your life anymore. So you might think, oh, they should go to this place, and like you have to think about yourself, your safety, like what can you do? And this mentor program also allows you to tutor subjects in which you received a high grade in. And then also it allows you to even become a TA as an undergraduate. And so that's another thing that I would like advise you to do. Find organizations that will help you grow as a student.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
So next, as you can see in your program, we have a special speaker today. We're very honored to have. She is not only a LULAC Council 688 member, but she's also been very instrumental in the Latino community here in Houston. Her name is Judge Josefina Rendon, and she has many firsts in her title in history. So she's an attorney, and she was actually one of Harris County's first Hispanic women attorneys. Go, women power, yes. She was actually first woman and first Hispanic civil service commissioner for the city of Houston in the 80s. She became the third Latina municipal judge in Houston and has remained a municipal judge for over 28 years. She is a trained mediator and she's been a leader in the dispute resolution area. She is married to Mr. Ruben Rendon, and they have a son and a daughter and 2 beautiful grandchildren. She is a former board president of SARE, which is a wonderful organization, Jobs for Progress, and a longtime member, as I said, of League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC. So we're very excited for her to come and speak. She's going to talk about the importance of education in the Latino community. So, Judge.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be here, and really appreciate the honor. And I was asked to talk about education, the statistics, and the importance of education. And at first, I thought, well, I'm not an educator, so maybe I'm not the right person to be talking about this. And then I thought that actually, I was involved in one of the 2 most important lawsuits for Hispanic, dealing with education for Hispanic students in Texas. And actually, my husband was involved in the other of the 2 most important decisions made regarding education of Hispanic students. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about the present and the reality today. One of the lawsuits was called Ross versus Houston Independent School District. And that lawsuit was brought in the mid-60s, and it was the lawsuit that desegregated the schools here. And what happened was that back when in the 60s, again, the schools were desegregated, and the minority students were getting a much more inferior education than the white students. And so they were ordered to integrate And so they said, okay, well, Hispanics are considered white, and so we're going to put the Hispanic students and the black students together. And so the inferior education kept on for the minority students while they were claiming to have integrated the schools. And so my husband actually, because he worked for the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, he was actually the became the local counsel in the 70s for the Hispanic students. And so that lawsuit that started in the mid-60s actually ended in the early 80s, believe it or not, where finally a decision was made that enough progress was being made in the area of integration. I don't know about inequality of education for minorities. I don't know, that's changed a lot, but some progress has been made. So that was one of the lawsuits. And again, my husband was involved in that. Another lawsuit was Plyler v. Doe, and in which that one, even if public education was actually the law, if you did not go if you didn't send your children to school, then you could be charged with a criminal offense. But actually, somebody decided that undocumented children did not have the right to a free education. And so I was involved in that lawsuit somewhat, in that I co-wrote the brief, what they call the amicus brief, the friend of the court brief that the Mexican American Bar Association of Houston wrote to support that the children should be given an education like all the other children. So maybe I can talk. And I'm happy to say that undocumented children, the Supreme Court of the United States decided that the undocumented children should have a free education. So anyway, so I guess I can talk a little bit about education, and I wanted to say some of the good news about education, and that's the statistics that you asked me to talk about. And here, as I understand it, high school dropouts have gone down. And so before the Hispanic students had a very high high school dropout rate, and it has gone down. So more and more Hispanic students are graduating from high school than they used to. And so that is great. And then from 1996 to 2012, college enrollment among Hispanics more than tripled. 240% increase, and that's from very low to not so low anymore. We still have to get better. Also, from the first time in 2012, the Hispanic enrollment rate among 18-year-olds to 24-year-old Hispanic students, high school students, went neck and neck with white students going in enrollment in college. And by 2012, a record 7 in 10 Hispanic high school students enrolled in college. And so that is a great, increase and advancement. And but there's not so good news also, and that is partly good and partly bad. And part of it is that the unemployment among Latinos aged 16 to 24 has gone higher. In other words, there's more and more high school, young Hispanic students who are not finding jobs. So it doesn't sound like good news, but at the same time, because they're not finding jobs, maybe that's what's convincing them to go to school. So there's maybe a silver lining among the bad news. But there's also bad news, and let me see if I can find it among my notes here. Bad news, yes. And even if the Hispanic college enrollment went up, Hispanics are still less likely to enroll in a school that has 4 years. They tend to enroll in a 2-year associate degree school rather than the 4-year school. And they tend also to, even if they enroll in the 4-year school, tend to not graduate as often as they should. So that's bad news. And then also Hispanic students are less likely to enroll full-time than majority students. There's also still a big gap between the number of Hispanics adults holding a degree compared to the rest of the population. So there's a lot more that we can still do about our college education. And so, let's see. Another thing is that other groups think of us as being uneducated. And I remember here 40-somewhat years ago when I was in El Paso, and I remember a college professor of mine said, "I noticed your accent." And I had I still have an accent, but even worse then. And he said, "I don't think you're going to make it in my class. My class is difficult, you know." And so I proved him wrong. And I did a great, great. So I proved him wrong. But it's interesting that you would think that 40-somewhat years later, that people would think of us different, that they would see that we're, just as educated as everybody else. But just this week, I was in a mediation, and I'm a mediator, but this time I was not there as a mediator. I was there because a lawyer in my husband's office at the last minute lost his interpreter. So I went there as an interpreter because I can speak both languages. And so I'm there translating like the best of them because I can speak both languages just as well. And one of the lawyers came into the room, and I was nobody there, and neither was the client. The only person who was somebody there was the lawyer. And then it was interesting to find out as the conversation between the lawyer and the other lawyer our lawyer and their lawyer came about, then our lawyer told him that I not only was a lawyer, but also a former district judge. And it was interesting to see the change. And I've seen that throughout my whole professional career, how people, again, assume that we're not educated when we are just as much or more than they are. And so, I want you all to remember that, to try to do your best. So, my final words to you all, the young people who are here today. And I want to let you know that you're getting these awards, but that we're not giving them to you for free. Okay? We expect something from you in return. And this is it. We want you to work hard at it and graduate and do the best you can. We want you also to keep learning for the rest of your adult life as much as you can and become as educated as you can and show them. And then finally, pay it forward and make sure that you do to others what is being done to you today and do the best you can to help others behind you. And with that then, good luck and congratulations for getting
Thank you, Judge Rendon. I should have had you gone last, and then we could just be all on that high note. Such a great message. That is exactly why the LULAC councils here, 60, 688, and 673, decided to focus this year on existing college students because of those statistics. We're very, very happy about the number of Hispanics or Latino students enrolled, but we want you to finish and graduate and go on and get master's degrees and PhDs. We don't want you to stop, right? We want you to keep going. And then remember everyone who helped you, and then bring them forward, bring everyone else forward with you. So thank you. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. Thank you. So we're going to get into the fun part now, the actual scholarships. The checks, I get to give you checks. I love spending money when it's not mine. So you're going to get checks. Okay. But we're going to talk about these scholarships. So the first one, Gabriela, are you here, Gabriela? Yes, okay. So we have, the first scholarship is the Leonel Castillo Scholarship. And we actually have some of Mr. Castillo's family in the audience. So if you please, it's not a new name to you. Leonel J. Castillo was born in 1939 in Victoria, Texas, and he was raised in Galveston. He received a BA degree cum laude in English in 1961 from St. Mary's and went on to get a Master of Social Work and Community Organization from the University of Pittsburgh. He served in the Peace Corps. He was secretary for, he was, here's my page. He was secretary for the Political Association of Spanish-Speaking Organizations, treasurer for the Democratic Party of Texas, and member of the Southern Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Castillo was the first paid director for SARE, so that nonprofit that I mentioned, Jobs for Progress, Inc., and he was a director of Catholic Council on Community Relations. He co-founded the Houston International University, or also known as the University Without Walls, and he served as its president. He was the first Hispanic to be elected to city office as city controller in Houston in 1971, and he ran for mayor in 1979. And if I was around, no, I was around then, I would have voted for him, but I wasn't old enough. But still. In 1977, he was appointed Commissioner of the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service by President Jimmy Carter. So that group is now called, that organization is now called the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. But he was appointed by Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. So that is pretty amazing. And I'll tell you, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Castillo when I was very young, in my 20s. I was an intern at, a student at U of H, an intern at City Hall, and he was working there. And I met him, and he was very nice, very welcoming, and I'll always remember that. So we want to recognize, in honor of Mr. Leonel Castillo, Gabriela Hines, who is a student at University of Houston downtown, and we were very impressed with her application and especially her essays. She, again, is a student here at UHD, yes, and we are awarding her $1,000 today. So here's your check, and if you'll smile for the camera.
I want to get the family down.
Family. Would you like to come and? We can do it outside. Thank you. If you don't mind, or if you wouldn't mind, if you will come and get a picture now with the family.
Sure.
Thank you.
Come on, Dad.
Yeah. Thank you. Come to them. We'll come to them.
Gabriel, what's your thanks?
So as we get more pictures, it's kind of like the wedding. You think you're out, but you're not really. It's got all the pictures, right? So we're going to move on and move to the next scholarship. This one's near and dear to my heart. It's named after my grandparents. So it's called the Ruth and Carlos Contreras Scholarship. A little bit about these individuals. So Carlos Contreras was born in August of 1926 in Houston. He was drafted immediately after graduating from Sam Houston High School at the age of 18. He served in World War II in Germany, and he achieved the rank of Staff Sergeant. He was honorably discharged in 1946, and he married Ruth Aguia in 1949, and he went to U of H on the GI Bill. He graduated with a BS in Mechanical Engineering in 1955 while supporting a family of 8. He actually has a family in here. A little bit about Ruth. Ruth was born in Houston in February 1926. She was a dedicated homemaker and an advocate for education and civil rights for women and Latinos. She was gifted in the arts and was a constant inspiration to her children to succeed in wherever their passion led them. Both Ruth and Carlos always stressed the significance of obtaining a secondary education to their sons, daughters, and even grandchildren. Carlos reminded his family often of his favorite quote, which is right behind me. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So to remember Ruth and Carlos, the family members, if you will please stand, they're here. David Contreras. I'm his favorite granddaughter. And so to remember them, we are happy to present Natalia Rialto with a $500 scholarship. She attends the University of Houston downtown here. So Natalia. I messed that up. I'm used to it. I can't say Contreras. Thank you.
This one's complicated.
It's complicated. I'm gonna do a selfie in there. I'll go for selfies. Dad.
Ready? 1, 2.
Thank you. Next, we have another name you may be familiar with. If you've studied civil rights, if you've been involved in LULAC, that is the John J. Herrera Scholarship. John James Herrera was born in April of 1910. He was an American attorney, activist, and leader in the Mexican-American Civil Rights Movement. He was born in Louisiana, and he joined LULAC in 1933. He began his law practice in Houston in 1943, and he was involved in the movement to end employment discrimination during World War II. There was employment discrimination against Mexican Americans in Houston shipyards. In 1948, he joined the legal team that brought the school discrimination case of Minerva Delgado against the Bastrop Independent School District to Texas Supreme Court. The ruling declared educational segregation of Mexican American students illegal in Texas. And in 1954, he authored the briefs for the case of Hernandez versus Texas that argued that the exclusion of Mexican American jurors was unconstitutional. The case reached the Supreme Court, which decided in Hernandez's favor. He served as president of LULAC from 1952 to 1953, and he continued to serve the organization throughout the 70s and 80s. He introduced JFK at that event we spoke of earlier, a little over 50 years ago when he came to Houston. And so we'd like to remember John J. Herrera. None of his family's here, I believe, correct? No family's here, but we want to remember him and recognize Miss Marimar Sanchez. She is a student at UHD, and so we're very happy to present her with this $500 check. Next, we have the Jeannie and John Aleman Scholarship, and they are in the room here. So this is the second time we've had this scholarship. John is a founder of the Latino Learning Center. He was born in Waco in June of 1940, and he graduated from La Vega High School and went on to Sam Houston State University and graduated with a BS in May of 1963. He served in the military as a second lieutenant and captain from 1963 to 1968 in Vietnam and was stationed in the Philippine Islands. He served as a courier officer traveling between Southeast Asia and Washington, D.C., and all military installations in between. Aleman married Jeannie Gonzalez in 1965 and worked 35 years as an interviewer, a counselor, veterans representative, and minority group representative at the Texas Employment Commission. His community work involves LULAC for over 30 years, AGIF for 27 years, Houston Vista Apartments for the Elderly, and the John Goldberg Apartments for the Elderly. Jeannie received her bachelor's from the University of Houston and has worked in accounting for over 40 years. She also serves the community through her work at the Latino Learning Center, LULAC, American GI Forum, and many other organizations. We're very proud to have both of the Alamans in our council, 688. They provide us much guidance and keep us in line often, so thank you for that. We would like to recognize Nelva Quintero Velasco. She is a student at HCC, and she is getting the Jeannie and John Alaman Scholarship. Sorry to make you nervous, Mariah, but I didn't forget about you. This is another one dear to my heart. So Mariah is receiving today the Maria and Ernest Iguia Scholarship, and this is not the first time we've offered this either. A little bit about who the scholarship, what you're getting today. Ernest Iguia was born in November 1919 in Lockhart, Texas. He went to Sam Houston High School during the same time that Lyndon B. Johnson was a debate teacher there. He was drafted in the military in 1941 and he was sent to Europe where he was part of the invasion of Europe at Normandy in France on June 11, 1944. He achieved the rank of Staff Sergeant and received the Bronze Star for his heroic efforts. He remained committed to preserving the memories of World War II and veterans issues, staying active in the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. He joined LULAC in 1947, and he was on the front lines of the Civil Rights Movement, pioneering the movement of the Latino integration in the Houston area after the war. Maria Martinez Iguia worked as an assistant to the nurses and nuns at St. Joseph's Hospital. At the same time, attended Macy's School of Business in Houston. Both having an extremely difficult childhood, Maria and Ernest found love and respect for each other and married on November 1st, 1947. Years later, Ernest and Maria decided to go back to school and earn their GED to set an example to their 4 children on the importance of education. Maria and Ernest instilled in each of their children the importance of obtaining an education beyond high school. They were of the opinion that education was the one thing that could not be taken from a person. I can actually hear him say that. Although Maria is a petite woman, and she is tiny, she remains a very strong woman in light of recently losing her husband after 67 years. She devoted her life to her husband and her children and loved a variety of music. The cliche that behind every successful great woman, behind every successful great man is a wonderful woman is applicable for Ernest and Maria Iguia. So to recognize them, we are to honor them, we are recognizing Miss Mariah Acevedo. She is a student at Lone Star, and we would like to give you this $500 check. And we are very proud to have actually my Uncle Ernest and Aunt Maria's family here in the audience. If you'll please stand. We have one more. Did Tanya make it here?
Tanya's here. Tanya's here.
Okay. Tanya, okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Our final scholarship. This came as a surprise. You're one lucky lady. Yeah. During the scholarship application review, the applicant review process, we recognized that we had funds for only 5 scholarships, but we had 6 applicants deserving scholarship awards. So there was one woman You can blame her for my feistiness. We call her Millie, I call her Mom, Miller. Birth name is Amelia Contreras, right? She was insistent, she's a member of LULAC Council 680, adamant, as my dad's would say, adamant about finding a way to fund this 6 scholarships. So we're a very grassroots organization, our LULAC Council 688. So in order to raise the funds so that we could give this 6 scholarship, it was her idea to sell family sports card collection on Craigslist to raise the money. And we also got a donation, thankfully, from Mrs. Tony Diaz's wife, from Monty and Ramirez law firm. And because of that determination and dedication of my mom, and the work that she did along with my dad, David Contreras, we're awarding the 6th scholarship in her honor. So you are receiving the Amelia Contreras Scholarship. And let me tell you a little bit about her. My dad didn't give me notes, but I've got them. So I mentioned that she's a member of Council 688, and she grew up at a time when there was no English as a second language kind of program. None of that existed. She only spoke Spanish. So to learn English, she watched I Love Lucy. She watched a lot of TV. And she has 4 children. I am the second out of those 4. And she taught all of us the importance of giving back, to work in the community service, and the importance of making a commitment. When you make a commitment, you follow through. So I would like to recognize Ms. Tanya Valadez with a $500 scholarship award today. She's like, it's my name. My other daughter.
1, 2.
Oh, let me do it.
So happy. Thank you so much. This is so fun to be here. We should do this all the time. You know, events like this would not happen if it weren't for the volunteers, the people that dedicate their time, energy. So I want to recognize the council members, LULAC council members, 60. If you are here, please stand. 673. And most dear to my heart, 688. If you'll please stand. We've worked a couple of other awards of appreciation we want to give. David Garcia, the project director for Cheetah. And last but not least, Dr. Gene Pruis. He is here at the University of Houston downtown. He helped get us this facility access here, so he made a lot of this possible, so we really, really appreciate it. We're good? Closing remarks. It would not be right if I didn't leave you with some closing remarks to remind you what today is. You guys remember what Uncle Ernest used to say, right? Be a good citizen. Today is election day. Please vote. Be a good citizen. He always said, be a good citizen. And I thought, today's election day, I haven't voted. I've got to vote. He told me to be a good citizen. So if it weren't for people like him, we wouldn't even be able to vote. So, I mean, we owe it to him and the ones who came before him. Remember to vote today. I think you have till 7 p.m. 7 p.m. So please vote. And we'll hang out, chat, take pictures, grab food, but that concludes today's reception.